What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and we are kicking off September with mostly underground stuff, but we're kicking off this weekend of September 6th, I believe, and that is with the latest offering from Dethroned, the Judas Paradox. This comes out on September 6th, this time on Reigning Phoenix Music, so we're talking about another Reigning Phoenix Music release this year, and, well, this is the band's 12th studio album, and of course, for those who don't know, these guys are a legendary pioneer of blackened death metal from the Netherlands, although I would say perhaps especially on their more recent albums, even though I've not checked out a lot of their stuff, but from what I know, like, since about the mid to late 2000s, they've kind of transitioned into more of a blend of blackened death metal and melodic death metal. And of course, Henry Sadler being the only original member of the band, still there from the beginning to where we are now. So, this is my first full sit-down with a Dethroned album, and I've heard that these guys are like one of the most underrated extreme metal bands of all time. Well, let's find out if that rings true. So we open up with the title track, which is actually the longest track on the album at 6 minutes. Didn't expect to get that right out of the rip, but starts off with these like dark, sullen, clean melodies. And for the most part, the song is in like a lumbering groove. Like it just lumbers along and plods along to kind of build up atmosphere and mood. Even some solid clean vocals. I believe it's Henry doing the clean vocals on here. And I gotta say, they're not bad. They were more or less done to kind of add more darkness to the song, because this is probably one of actually the most sullen song on the entire album, which, interesting, it was maybe not the best pace setter, but it was more of like building up a mood. But then we get into Rat Kingdom, where this is really where the album truly takes off. You get this big like opening guitar harmony that almost reminds me of Amon Amarth a little bit, and then you get these like big blast beats and tremolo melodies that I would say feels a lot closer to the melodic death metal side than anything else. It gets pretty thrashy even. There's also some big giant squealy dive bombs when it comes down to the lead. Now the leads that do show up on this album, they're kind of sparse. Like, they're in most of the songs on the album, but they kind of range from, like, big squealy dive bombs to, like, lead melodies to atmospheric melodies. The Hanged Man, which I thought was a really cool song that popped up next, riffs and the rhythm sound a lot like Morbid Angel to me. And I'm talking, like, it kind of reminds me of, like, an amalgamation of Formulas Fatal to the Flesh and Gateway to Annihilation. Like, it kind of feels like a song that sits in both of those albums in between. Lots of thrashiness, more blasts, even a really cool guitar harmony. Now, that's another thing. The guitar harmonies that pop up on this album are quite tasteful, and dare I say, delicious like chocolate. I don't know why the hell I just did that, but I digress. And then, as we skip along, we get into Asmodeus, which this one, I think, perhaps brings out the most black metal-centric vibes, particularly in the tremolo melody that opens the song. Kind of gave me nods to bands like Immortal in particular, where it's just like this big, triumphant tremolo melody, but then as the song keeps progressing, it gets more into the melodic death metal side of their sound, and dare I say, very close to At the Gates, I gotta admit. Like, there's quite a lot of At the Gates riffs going on throughout this entire album when it comes down to the melodeath side of their sound, but there's also some really tasty drum groove on this track. Kashmir Princess, which, is this supposed to be a nod to Led Zeppelin? Probably not, but I digress even further. But yeah, this one kind of has more of like a doomy feel to it. Like, the opening of it feels a little closer to Death Doom, kind of like Hooded Menace, I would say. But then you do get some more like classic metal riffs, like not really mellow death or like death metal. It feels closer to classic heavy metal guitars with soaring melodies, and even a bass melody shows up. And then you kind of get more into a doomy breakdown towards the end, which was not something I was expecting. Hubris Anorexia. This one really brings out a lot of Behemoth vibes in the tremolos and the blasts. Definitely made me think of like 2000s era Behemoth, but then you still get more of those, excuse me, more of those like at the gates riffs that show up. But the guitars even get a little bit twangy, dare I say, at certain spots on this track. But some awesome chugs. There's even a doom moment and a really cool lead. The Eye of Providence. Love the harmony. Excuse me, I don't know why my voice keeps wanting to die. But the opening harmony was really tasteful. Even nice little like marching drums, but a big triplet chug, like very much like a straight up death metal triplet chug. And this is what I was talking about with lead harmonies. This was maybe my favorite lead section on the entire album. Like, it's harmonized and it's got trade-offs going on. I don't know if Henry's doing any leads. I know there's another guitarist that's doing the majority of the leads, but I don't know if Henry's doing like trade-offs with him or the other guitarist is just doing trade-offs in recording. I'm not sure, but it was an awesome magical moment. Hailing Death, this one has a lot more of those low-end tremolos, but dare I say similar to a band like Blood Red Throne or maybe even Skeletal Remains. Like, it has that more old-school death metal sound to it. It chugs very heavily, dark melody with like marching snare, but the guitar harmonies that fade out to the end almost reminds me of Carcass. Like, I gotta admit, there were some portions on the album where the guitars harmonize, kind of reminded me of Carcass a little bit, and I do love me some Carcass. Broken Bloodlines, kind of like the bloodline in WWE that's becoming broken. Not really. Nasty tremolos and blasts that feel, again, very much like Morbid Angel, but you get some like classic metal melodic progressions going on with this track. And then the closer, War Machine, which if I were a wrestler, that would be my nickname. It's like got more of those nasty low-end tremolos and drums, but then it gets back into more melodeath terrain. It shreds, there's another great triplet chug, and it was a pretty cool way to close the album. So production-wise was pretty well done. I think Henry does the production, but it was mastered by Tony Lindgren, who is one of the right-hand dudes to Jens Bogren, so it's very much like an extension of Jens Bogren for the most part. Musically, like I said, it feels like an amalgamation of classic death metal, melodic death metal, blackened death metal, and even little touches of classic heavy metal that pop up here and there on this album. As far as any complaints go, it's really that one track, Blackheart. It was just a pointless, like, ambient interlude that led into Asmodeus. I would have just cut that track out. And then also, I feel like the title track, honestly, could have been the closer. Instead, they open with it, which I thought was kind of bold, but I don't think it worked out. I think that song would have been best if it was the closer. To be like this big, grand, sullen closer to an otherwise nasty album. But overall, this was still some very damn good stuff. I gotta admit, for my first time listening to a full God Dethroned album, this was really good. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4 out of 5. I really, really enjoyed it. Like, you know, it just pretty much marks off a lot of tropes that I do like about, you know, classic death metal, melodic death metal, blackened death metal, all into one package. Not a bad song apart from Blackheart. But yeah, I do wish the title track could have been the closer. But overall, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thanks for watching. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.